Hi.
I thought I heard your voice.
Great. All right.
Yeah. What do you want?
Welcome, everybody, to the February 5th town board meeting. We'll start the meeting with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. So, we have some visitors here to talk to us about Thomas Road safety. I'm just gonna explain sort of the beginning of the meeting. So we're gonna start with a public hearing on the local law we're putting forward for adoption to allow cannabis retail and consumption facilities. Then we'll move to the business meeting and so I'm gonna front load first the broadband presentation and then the Thomas Road discussion. Then I'm just moving those up. And then we'll move through the agenda that way. So
Before the hearing, you're saying, or
before the what?
hearing or after the hearing?
The hearing will be first. I'm anticipating that the hearing will be brief. So that's, if I thought otherwise, I would rejigger things. So with that, I will open the public hearing on the local law to allow cannabis retail and consumption facilities. And the background on that is that we opted out of those a couple years ago at the last month when we could, because the cannabis board wasn't fully formed and the cannabis regulations weren't established. So we just thought it was due diligence to do that. So now that all that is established, we're putting it forward for to back off on that and allow retail and places of consumption for cannabis. So with that, the public hearing is open and we will take any comments that people wish to offer about that legislative.
Do you want me to check to see if someone signed up?
You can see, yeah, that'd be great. Let's see if there's anyone here. No.
It's just me.
All
Right.
Catherine, you're not speaking on that matter, are you? You are? Okay, then the floor is yours.
Hello, well, good to be here. So I am providing this comment as a mental health professional, specifically one who works with adolescents and emerging adults and understands firsthand the substance use challenges in this population. I'm also commenting as someone who was on the board at the time of opting out until we had more information on the issue. Since that time, two important things have happened. First, we have been given no additional guidance from the public health community, state or federal government, about how to manage the impacts of legalization and increased commerce of cannabis in municipalities. Second, we have learned of an increasing number and severity of harms caused by an increasingly potent cannabis market, including cannabis-associated psychotic disorders, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome or CHS, exacerbation of a variety of mental health concerns, not to mention increased risk of impaired driving and risks during pregnancy. To be very clear, I am fully in favor of decriminalizing and even legalizing cannabis for a variety of social justice reasons, but that is not what is at issue with our municipal decision to opt into this particular market. As long ago as 2020, the American Public Health Association advocated for a thoughtful approach to regulating commercially legalized cannabis, citing a variety of known harms and calling for policy actions to minimize harm to communities, very few of which have come to fruition and none of which can reasonably be implemented or monitored in a town with limited resources such as Caroline. Since then, the harms have only increased as potency of cannabis products has risen exponentially without any corresponding regulation. A report from late September 2024 from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine states there's an urgent need for a coordinated public health approach to cannabis policy in the US. Our report shows that cannabis policy often focuses on regulating sales and revenue first and protecting public health second. This is absolutely true for the New York State Office of Cannabis Management, FAQs, and other information, which contain literally zero public health information or guidance. The full consensus report from the National Academies entitled Cannabis Policy Impacts Public Health and Health Equity can be found online. I would really recommend that all board members read it prior to making a decision for our town if you haven't already seen it. Clearly, these are complex public health and regulatory issues which go far beyond the reach of Caroline's local governance. However, given that we do not currently have commercial cannabis in our municipality, we are in a position to avoid involving our small town in an issue on which we are and will remain outmatched by more powerful industry interests. Additionally, Caroline residents who choose to purchase cannabis products are not nearly in a cannabis desert. The Ithaca Times just featured 6 local dispensaries and indicated that Tompkins County is outpacing other regions with 38 dispensary licenses granted at the time of the article. For perspective, Onondaga County has 4 times Tompkins County's population and only 35 licenses. I am urging the board to consider that this is not a simple matter of adding a commercial use to our new zoning table, which it really bears mentioning had an inordinate amount of debate about the benefits and burdens of various uses far less complex than commercial cannabis. I believe opting in is a mistake, and I urge you to resist the temptation to do so. I would welcome speaking with any of you individually. I can also point you to additional resources on this issue. I brought a couple of things, but very happy to talk more about it.
Great, thank you for your comments. Okay. Can you forward this digitally too? Yeah. Do you have a digital copy? Good. That'd be
Like
great.
of my statement or the,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Any other people wishing to speak on the cannabis? Great. So with that, I will close the public hearing and we will have a discussion during the business meeting on that. So thank you for your comments. All right, so I'm going to let's see. Do you see the people in the waiting room, Velvet?
I'm trying.
I got it.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Can you change the camera or change the view or?
I am having trouble with that.
Okay.
I manhandled it earlier and it stuck for a while. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's better at least. Perfect. I love that one.
That one is better.
All right,
Hi, there's Jonathan.
so.
Hello.
Oh, Jonathan.
Sorry, I got my car stuck.
Oh, no.
So I'm on video now.
Okay, great, welcome. We just held the public hearing on the local law to opt in on cannabis dispensaries and places of consumption, and had an informative statement by Catherine Goldberg. I've closed the public hearing and we're now moving on to the business meeting. I'm gonna jump over committee reports for now and move on to the Town of Caroline municipal broadband presentation. So I have on the agenda tonight readoption, or at the last meeting we adopted a bond resolution to allow borrowing for our broadband project. And in the wake of that, I noticed essential wording was missing from that resolution, so we'll be readopting that tonight. But in advance of that, because the resolution has the number $6.45 million in it, it did understandably garner attention, and I think deserves some more explanation. So I put together some notes on the broadband initiative. So I'll read through those and also mention that Dave Makar, who's the executive director of Dryden Fiber, is here tonight. So, as far as the Town of Caroline Municipal Broadband Initiative started a couple years ago. So the board, on January 11th of 23, we were awarded an award of ARPA recovery funds from the county to support a feasibility study for municipal broadband in Caroline and a partial build out. And Kate wrote that grant and submitted, and we were successful. So that was $132,000. In February of that year, the town board dedicated its ARPA funds of $338,000, as well as those county funds, towards that same goal. And our idea was to conduct the feasibility study, and then if everything looked good, do a partial build out and build municipal broadband from there. And of course, we were building from the foundation that was started by Dryden with Dryden Fiber. So that was early 2023. By the end of 23, December 21st, 2023, during the year, we enlisted Hunt Engineers to do the feasibility study. There was a townwide survey. We sent out surveys to everybody in town and collected responses. And the feasibility study was presented in December by Hunt Engineers. It projected positive cash flow after 2 years and recovery of construction costs after about 15 years. So it established there was a model for a success that could sustain municipal broadband for the residents of Caroline. In March of 24, this past year, the town board approved a joint application with the town of Dryden to the New York State Connect All Municipal Infrastructure Program for funds to provide affordable, high-quality internet service to under and unserved residents in Caroline and Dryden. And shortly thereafter, in June 24th, the MIPA program awarded the towns of Dryden and Caroline funds of up to $8,995,979 for construction of municipal internet to under and unserved residents in our towns. The grant will provide internet service to all residents of Caroline. There are, as of June, 382 unserved, 56 underserved, and 1,124 served. The timeline for construction under this grant is 30 months from when it was awarded. We're now down to less than 24 months with a completion date, target date of December 31st of 26. The local share from the towns is 10% of the project cost, which comes to about $1 million, $996,000 some.
That's the two towns together.
Dollars. That's correct. What is Caroline's out-of-pocket cost? Caroline is the major beneficiary of this municipal infrastructure grant at 57% of project cost. It comes out to $567,880. As I mentioned before, we dedicated our ARPA funds. So the total between the county funds and the town funds received through ARPA is about 470,000, leaving about 98,000 to be covered by the town. 51,000 of that will be a grant fee that we pay as soon as the grant disbursement agreement is signed very soon, so that we can get reimbursement. So why are we adopting a bond resolution to borrow $6.45 million when the project is being largely funded by the municipal infrastructure program? The reason is that we have to spend the money before we can be reimbursed. So, and we have learned that bond interest costs are eligible for grant reimbursement. So that is sort of my very tight summary of how we got here. The town of Caroline has been struggling with providing broadband service to its residents for some time. I feel blessed, frankly, that we're in this position. We positioned ourselves well with the feasibility study, but we're especially fortunate that Dryden began this initiative several years ago. Dryden Fiber is a reality. There are customers now in Dryden, and we expect the first customers in Caroline by around next fall. So the project is underway, and we're working hard to implement it. So I guess with that, I would entertain any questions if people have any questions about it. So
I have one.
yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
It's Jonathan. You might have already addressed this, and maybe it doesn't matter, but with the situation with the federal government, do any of the funds get affected by the executive orders that have been enacted?
Right. So that executive order. So first of all, no is the answer. So from the legal professionals for Dryden Fiber, these funds are not implicated in that original freeze order, and that order was rescinded, as you probably know. But so yeah, the answer is no. But I want to follow up on that to say our original action on this was not contingent on the grant funds. We undertook this as a project that we would start and build out incrementally as the project got its feet under it. And our goal was to provide municipal broadband service to all the residents of Caroline. This grant is a huge accelerator and benefit to the town. So I guess, did you not like that answer? He got up and left.
There it is.
No, thank you. That's it.
Okay.
You have somebody has a
Do you have
question?
a proposed start date and or start point yet, or is that still?
Louder, please.
Do you have a proposed start date and or start point yet? And is that still in discussion?
So it started now. The permit applications are largely submitted for the Caroline. Most of the project in Caroline is aerial on existing poles. So a lot of the applications have been submitted for those. That is that's a critical part because we often have to wait a while for the utilities to issue those permits. So do you want to follow up on that, Dave, at all?
Yeah, the announcement of this was in June of last year, and we began the permitting process immediately. So there are 29 permits as part of this project. 19 of them are in town of Caroline, 10 are in the town of Dryden. the network right now exists around Route 13 in Dryden. There are gonna be 4 legs that come down south to reach the unserved and underserved parcels in Dryden, but also come into Caroline, important parts. And then including through Thomas Road, to come under Route 79 and then continue south all the way to Speedsville. As Mark said, 100% of the houses, addresses in North Carolina are covered by this. And construction could start sometime this summer and be available sometime in the fall.
Great, thank you.
25.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Great, okay. So we will, later on, we will be readopting the bond resolution to enable us to do this borrowing.
Will this summary be online so we can refer the people to it?
Sure, I was thinking of doing that, yeah. All right. So now I would like to move on to the Thomas Road safety presentation by Rich and Nancy Belisle. Do you want to pull the presentation up and?
Sure. Where do you want me to be, Mark? Let's see what's easiest for you. Just from here?
Or let's see, if you want, you could stand over here and then you might be visible on camera too, and you can cue me when you want me to advance the slides. So let me share my screen. I did pull it up earlier and hopefully it's hasn't hidden from me. Here.
Sometimes you have to stop sharing. And
Yeah,
then
I just,
open the document first and then share.
okay. Trying to figure out how to do this. Okay, here we go.
Also, Mark, all we can see on our screen is Tim.
Yeah, I got, I think I have it now. Hang on. Is that better? Do you see it now? Do you see some words? Jonathan?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, let's see. Put it in presentation. Oops. Okay, does that work?
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Go ahead, Rich.
Thanks for having us. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Rich Belisle. We live on 136 Thomas Road at the Thomas Farm Bed and Breakfast. We've been here for 6.5 years, and we've increasingly been concerned about the Thomas Road safety. I guess it really came home to me the other night when I was coming home, and one of our neighbors was walking down the street, and he had his 2-year-old daughter in a front pack. He had a dog on the other side. And the only thing I could think of was, I hope he makes it home. And that's pretty sad when you worry about your neighbors like that. We can go to the next one. Mark.
Okay.
This really hit home to Nancy and I, and we had a serious near miss in April of 22, where we had guests turning into our property. And for those of you that know Thomas Road or don't, I believe there's another neighbor there, there's a dip that comes right up before our barn. And if you look out of our driveway, you cannot see the car that's gonna be there in 2 seconds. And so literally it sounded like a jet airplane coming down Thomas Road. I was in the barn, and then the next thing I know, Nancy's in the field about 100 yards away with a car that had missed our guest by about 6 inches. With this speed, and you'll see a picture later, with the speed that they were going, there was no doubt in my mind there would have been either fatalities or serious injuries, so we missed by inches probably. I drafted, I think you all had an email from our guests from Connecticut who become dear friends of ours, thank God. And so anyways, I drafted an email to Mark. He suggested getting a petition. I did not do the petition, bad on me. We got into our busy season at the bed and breakfast and I dropped the ball. And so we moved on. From that point on, from 21 to 24, we've had 3 new homes on the Caroline portion of Thomas Road. And that doesn't sound like much, but we went from 15 to 18. I mean, so essentially that's a 20% increase in driveways, and they all empty out right onto Thomas Road. And even worse is we've got 2 of the homes that had school-aged children that are using the buses. So now we've got the buses stopping during the morning and evening commute. And it creates unbelievable challenges and dangerous situations. If you could go to the next one, please, Martin. So again, I had missed the ball in 22, but in the interim, it continued to degrade. Unsafe passing, hard braking to avoid stop buses, cars honking at the buses because they're stopped, cars passing on our road. And again, we had a continual worry for our neighbors and guests. And I was looking for something else, and I saw that we were looking for public input on the Safe Streets Initiative. And I was heartened because there was Tompkins County speed enforcement for the BCC day camp, and it seemed like we got quick response from the county at the town board's urging. So I was sort of feeling upbeat about that. So maybe there was some light at the end of the tunnel. Again, I tried to get some information, some assistance, and you know, I won't beat a dead horse.
I can be the dead horse. I'm
We
sorry.
did
I
not,
didn't respond.
we did not get anything from the town. Shortly thereafter, my wife and I sent out a petition to our neighbors. I thought a pretty good response. 15 out of 18 responded. 2 of them wrote a detailed insight on the significant safety events. Edie and Glenn, who lived there for 40 years, they've seen fatalities. And then Ursula and Eric, who run on the road quite a bit. I think Paul's wife runs a lot on the road. She's been, you know, tailgated on. She's been beeped at because she's turning into the new driveway. And it's, and I'm sure the same things happen to Gabriel. So it's just, it continues to degrade. It continues to get worse. Somebody's gonna die. And that's not hyperbole. If you could go to the next one, please. So, you know, when I grew up in the military and we did a gap analysis, where are we between what we said we're gonna do and where are we now? And so what did Caroline say we're gonna do? And this is from the 2020 comprehensive plan adopted in the early part of 21. It said, residents enjoy well-planned and maintained transportation system. Traffic calming measures have been implemented as needed to control vehicular speed. And then there's a question which I do not know if there are any traffic calming measures in use in Caroline other than the school zones. And then under the livability of Caroline section, one of the goal sets, and you can read it, but the main thing is consistent and sensible speed limits that are enforced. And then there's an action box right behind this section, and there's actions on a lot of things that we said we're gonna do for the livability of Caroline. Not one of them talks about safety or the safety of our roads or our residents. Next one, please, Mark. So again, how's it going? Well, from our small viewpoint, and again, I'm not speaking from all of Thomas Road, but I think we all have asked for help. So before this, which I don't have pictures of, we had a departure in 2019. And then we had the one on the left, it was in December of 2019, relatively minor, got to pick up some car parts. And the one on the right is the one that we talked about, the high-speed miss. And for those of you, you can see the barn, the red barn. I don't think it was painted back then, but the gentleman missed the car turning into our driveway, which is by the White House, he missed a big rock in front of the pond, he missed the pond,
He came all the way there.
and he continued going to where those marks are. He got out of the car ready to kill somebody, even though he was the one that was gonna kill somebody. So then rather than try to get the police here to get some help, I towed him out in my truck and sent him on his way before anything else could happen.
He was mad?
He was mad because the person was turning into the driveway and he was going X number of miles per hour. Made perfect sense to me.
People get angry when they're scared.
Sure they do. And but trying to defuse the situation, we did not call the police. Mark, next one, please. And so, I mean, lately, when we hear something, in the old days, it was, is there a tree falling in the woods? Is there something going on with, you know, the animals? And now when we hear something, it's something in a ditch by our house. And so the one on the left is the 13th of December in 24. That was a rollover. Tim said he was the second person on scene. I guess the guy that driving said it was a deer. I'll take that as it may be. It seems like that's a convenient statement.
Oh,
when something else
think
is going
I was
on.
pretty convinced it was a deer.
He was or you were?
I was,
Oh.
I mean, he just got out of his truck and he was all shaken up.
The next one is the one that happened most recently on the 10th of January. So what you're seeing is Thomas Road just to the right. That's our garden. Just to the left of the screen behind the forsythia bush is a huge propane tank, which they missed by 4 feet. They went across the creek. They took out a tree. They took out a lamp post. They continued across our parking pad up the embankment
Oh, yeah.
and then came down into the ditch.
Wow.
I asked the state police to come back out to try to do any sort of assessment on the speed, and they won't respond. I thought the sheriff was gonna be here. Obviously, we aren't important enough for that. It's,
Which, I'm trying to imagine, which way were they going?
they were going north. Our barn is on the right.
Okay.
Just to the left of the cone is our creek, which is very deep. They jumped the whole creek. They went over that, and then I found stuff embedded 2 inches into the tree that they finally hit at the top of that hill. And again, she said that they were avoiding a deer. Okay, but I mean, how fast are you going to be able to do all those things? I don't know. I'm not a police officer. I'd love somebody to do an analysis of the dynamics of that. But I mean, that seems, and this is one piece of the car. And then as you'll see from the next, down the road, I've got a wheelbarrow full of this car. And so how often are we gonna have to pick up pieces of cars from our ditches, from our house? And it's becoming untenable, to tell you the
Did
truth.
the police come for this event?
They did. The state, Nancy took the woman in the house at 4 a.m. in the morning. The state police came in the house,
Oh,
but then they wouldn't respond to when we had questions about what was going on. They did an in-person impairment test. They did nothing else from what we know. You know, we can't get information, but I mean, they were there. It took them a long time to get there, right, Nancy?
25 minutes.
she drove off at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
4:15, yeah.
Yeah, so
It
she.
takes a while at night.
Interesting.
So that's the situation. I mean, stated goals of what our safety requirements are, and this is what we're seeing in the last 6 weeks. And, you know, in my prior life, I flew helicopters for the Coast Guard, and when somebody would ask us about, you know, if there was somebody we were going out to search for, we would ask the information, but then we go to the experts. We were the experts to carry it out. You guys are the experts I'm asking help for. I mean, so the safety improvements for consideration, you know, everybody talks about, well, just reduce the speed limit. It's not gonna do any good. I mean, unless you change the driver's behavior, nothing's going to happen. And if there's no enforcement, you know, I think everybody recognizes that the Tompkins County Sheriff's resources are limited. I mean, like everybody, they're against it. But I mean, we need something. I mean, I looked at the report they put out every month. I picked 1 month and saw how many times the Tompkins County Sheriffs had a report that was from Caroline, and it was like 4 for Caroline and everybody else was at the 15, 12, 13. There must be an easier way to get the data than me going page by page and writing down when Caroline gets impacted. I would assume you would have that data, be able to get that data. But, you know, at some point, we should ask the county, are we getting our fair share of enforcement? We would like to have the speed limit looked at. Again, Lounsbury Road, which is across, I know that's a state road, I believe. Is that true? Bobby? Is that a state
No,
road or
it's a
county road?
County.
I'm sorry, excuse me. And then my question is, why is Thomas Road with several turns and limited sight lines 45 miles an hour? For more than a year, we didn't have lines at all. Now we have a center line, but no edge lines. Many cars now have lane keeping technology, which tries to keep you on the road, but it uses those edge lines. But as Nancy and I saw the other night coming home, I mean, even in low visibility, even if you're in the old, you know, you're driving a car, if you lose that edge line, you don't have much to stay out of those ditches. And so it's again, it doesn't appear you lose them as we get on the Dryden Caroline line. Snyder Hill, which is just behind us, they have lines on, it goes Dryden to Caroline, and Caroline keeps the edge lines. Thomas Road does not have that. And given the depth of the roadside culverts, we think the edge lines may help. Maybe the last thing is to prevent somebody from going into a deep ditch or getting hurt or getting killed. Better signage, you know, people don't look at them anyway, excuse me. Haiti and Paul live on the road. Tim was talking about that today.
Yeah.
They have the same thing. Every time we go to our barn, you're taking your life into your hands. And I'm not saying that I take out my headphones, I look left, I look right, I look left, I look right. And then when a car goes by, the doors on our barn, when we had our barn redone, the young man that was doing the barn said, "Why do you have 4 latches on your barn door?" And then after the first pickup truck came by, he goes, "I understand." And then the one thing in summary, you know, you saw, I'll tell you a quote from one of the people that responded. And then there was somebody that was trying to be here tonight and they couldn't be here, but he said to me, driving speed is insane. And he says, the thing that got my stomach is I feel like things are going to collapse into total anarchy. And I feel that way about a lot of things, but I never felt that about Caroline, but I agree with him with the way that people drive and what's going on with the safety issues here. You can read what we said up there. I mean, Thomas Road is the Wild West version of the road laws in Tompkins County. It would not be that way if already existing laws were monitored and enforced. They are not. You know, we said we're going to do safe roads and good repair, with consistent and sensible speed limits that are enforced, and we're not. And the last thing I'll say is there's an economic impact of all this. You know, we see a lot of this in the morning, in the evening, when a major university is people are going to work there and people are leaving. I see a lot of red and white hang tags in the center of the console, which are Cornell parking passes. Why aren't we reaching out to Cornell and asking their help? Why aren't we, you know, asking for, you know, everybody talks about the great things that Cornell brings, and we all know they bring some things that are challenging. This is another challenge, is what they're doing. And there is an economic aspect of it, and this is strictly to the Thomas Farm, is, as you know, we charge 5% occupancy tax for everybody that stays with us. And that goes straight to the Tompkins County Tourism Development. And so for the last 2 years, we've put $4,000 each year into that fund. And guess how much we got for the Apple Fest? We got $2,000. And guess how much we got for the August dance program at the VCC? It was $1,000. So 3 of that 4,000, it's not a 1-for-1, but if you take away Thomas Road, putting those occupancy, or excuse me, the bed and breakfast, putting those occupancy taxes in, you know, I think things are going to get tighter on some of these grants that we get. So there is an economic interest for the town. Nancy, did you want to add anything in, or?
Thank you, Rich.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So I guess, yeah, I guess,
Please.
Can I respond? Mark, can I respond?
yeah, you
Okay.
can go ahead, yeah.
So, we spoke on the phone and, I'm the one who didn't respond last fall. I'm working with the Safe Streets for All and it's been pretty frustrating. Just let you know, the input that they originally asked for, then they will down to just wanting to talk to me and talk to Bobby, talk to some other people, but it was very limited. And I know you went to the presentation, they used crash data, but fatal crashes to identify the sites of the two focus sites in Caroline that you were asking me about. So they're coming out with their plan. It's not as detailed for Caroline as I had hoped. All right, the way it looks now, I'm still, but they do identify a big problem is enforcement. And they are right now, the planning group is reaching out to enforcement across the 13 municipalities that work together for the Safe Streets for All to try to get an idea of where they are with enforcement and how it could be increased, which is positive. I don't know when it's going to happen. I mean, I'm frustrated too. I've been concerned about speeds and cars and how that affects the community for decades. And it's been very frustrating. Striping is something we can do, right? Right, Bobby?
Yeah, there are some limitations.
Okay. I think reaching out to Cornell, I'm trying to figure out who, I was thinking Cornell Safety or the transit or the commuter. I'm trying to think of who we could reach out to. That might be a great idea for an education. I had for
community outreach. office.
Right. Education is another thing that was discussed. So there was just a 2.5 hour meeting with the Safe Streets for All on Tuesday. And a lot of the discussion was enforcement and also education to drivers. But those are like long-term. It was like put in a high school program. I mean, it was, not immediate. Right now, the towns cannot set the speed limit. We don't really have to say what the speed limit would be. We can request that a study be done. The state comes down and does a study. That's what happened with Lounsbury and Landon and other places.
Connington Road recently.
Right, in Coddington Road. And then they tell us what it's going to be and we can disagree with it. We have disagreed with it.
But we will do that.
We will do
Yes,
that.
we will do that.
That's
We
one
will
thing
do
tangible
that.
that we will do, so. yeah.
Towns, but we're also hoping that towns might have. The New York Association of Towns has been working for a long time to change that state ruling. So a town with over 50,000 people can set their own, they can have like a town-wide speed limit, for example. But not little towns. Villages can set their own zone, but not hamlets and not little towns. So that's a state issue that's been very frustrating. I really appreciate your, all the slides and how you put this together and, can I use this? Like, I can send it to the Safe Streets for All people. I'm also thinking Anna Kellis at the state level should see it to try to explain this is an immediate problem that's been going on for years, and so it's, trying to think of anything,
Can I
Yeah,
just
go
add?
ahead.
I mean, I'll just add that, like I've mentioned to you, I know most of you are not regular traveling around Thomas Road and I'm very, very aware of the situation. I've watched it over the years, get increasingly more heavily used, especially. And with heavy use comes greater speed. I was at the accident that I saw, et cetera, et cetera. The challenge that we have is when we so you understand the process, when we petition the state DOT, we have to wait for them to accept, take action. They will then do a traffic study. We most recently managed to do this on the town portion of Coddington Road. It took about a year. in that particular case, they came back and they lowered the speed limit only on half of the section that we requested. So just so that we're aware, it's kind of a hit, for our perspective, it's kind of a hit and miss situation. And that's just related to the speed. I agree with you that I would encourage highway to do stripes on the sides of the roads if possible. I do think that would be
Like
helpful.
on White Church Road, they
And-
put the
and
rumble
Snyder
strips that slow people down before that tight curve.
I guess before we go, I'll add to that when you're done.
Yeah.
No, I'm done. I mean, I just wanted to
And
explain the process.
I remembered what I was forgetting, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it, Bobby. So speed tables, like the traffic calming, ideas. So we can't just put a speed table in. We have to have, I called up, local roads guy. What's his name? Rob?
David Orr.
David Orr, that's right. And talked to him for a while, and he's given me a whole chapter to read. But he said, you need an area plan for traffic calming. You can't just put one thing in here or there. So we have to have a comprehensive plan about how to go about it. So I'm hoping that the Safe Streets for All plan will be able to maybe make a plan from that plan, if not use that plan. So it includes traffic calming, it includes different ideas. And it puts us in the position that the Safe Streets for All plan that they're making puts us in the position to be able to apply for federal monies that were available with the infrastructure law. So, but we can't just put in a speed table. It has to be part of a comprehensive view of the area of how we're doing that. And not just the speed table, other traffic calming ideas, like pensions or, different things like that.
Is there any so nowadays, when you go by a construction site, there's invariably a Volkswagen with cameras, and it says speed monitoring, and if you go fast, you'll get a ticket. Why aren't we using technology that can be deployed across the county instead of having police cars that they don't have? I mean, you gotta be, just saying that we can't do it because the state won't do it. I mean, it doesn't do any good. I mean, I know what I understand your frustration, but we feel like we're in an exigent circumstance and we're looking for help. And I'm getting nothing. The sense is I'm getting nothing.
So I don't want you to feel that way, but
Where's Dan Klein?
Yeah.
Who's also part of he's our county guy, right? Does he have impact on the sheriff? Does the sheriff work for him?
yeah, so I want to offer a mea culpa for Derek. I emailed him about this. He called me within 5 minutes and planned to be here. So I don't know what's on his plate tonight, but I will connect him with you. Because he has been.
No, you guys, that's what I'm saying, Mark. You guys are the experts.
Well, I can tell him the issue, but I won't steer him your direction if you don't want me to.
Give him the whole briefing again, and I'll show him the whole wheelbarrow.
But I will let him know the concern and I'll fill him in on tonight's, but I know that, I don't, what I can do is, I know that, enforcement is important, but I do think lowering the speed limit would be a good idea. And I think we should request a speed study and see what comes out of that.
Yeah.
I want to see what Bob, if you have any.
Because that's something that could be done right away, right? We can request that.
So, yeah, everybody's kind of touched on a few things, some are possible, some aren't possible at the moment. First, I'd like to say thank you for bringing that all forward. There's a couple things I can do and that I can do almost immediately. I haven't been made aware of any children getting on the school bus on Thomas can put some school bus signs up.
These are the two people with school bus.
So we can get together, we'll get those addresses, those signs I can put up, and there's no, there's no question about that. The hard part is getting somebody to read them.
Amen.
Yep. As far as, I feel you're paying 100%. This last year, we did a big project on White Church Road, and I had road closed signs everywhere. I had cones, I had barrels, I had, you name it, there was 23 town trucks on that job. I had a lady blow through the road closed sign, jumped over 6 inches of number 2 stone and continued to go down through the work zone. And when I finally got her stopped, and it was not very nice about getting her stopped, because I mean, she could have killed about 6 people just off my crew that morning. She says, I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it. There's barrels, there's barricades, there's everything. I think we need to turn the petition in to lower the speed limit. I would like to think that would help, but there's one thing, and I can ask everybody in here, what was, depending on which way you came in here, what was the last regulatory sign you seen before you turned to the driveway? And if I had to guess, probably nobody in this room could tell me the last sign that they seen.
Yeah, 35 miles an hour.
35.
Gulf Springs.
Whether this comes from the other way, coming from your house or your house, what that last sign is.
The last sign.
Coming in from.
Not from that.
35.
I'd be willing to bet nobody could tell me the last regulatory sign coming from.
From like
West
down
City.
Buffalo Road.
Yep. If you were to come down Buffalo Road and turn, before you turn in here, what's the last sign you see?
There's some curved signs.
There's a sign in front of the Dandy Mart.
We
that
all get
marks- Everybody fails. The last sign that you see, and this is just to make the point of how
Okay,
signs just turn to background.
what's the
The
last
last
sign?
sign that you've seen coming from your place is a sign that marks the fire station. It's not a speed limit sign, it's not a curb
Oh.
sign, it's not anything. It actually marks the fire station. But everybody, once they see it for a little bit, the one thing that actually stops people and slows people down is that fancy light bar and them stripes that are on that car. I said 2 years ago, and I will be willing to actually have this up and I'll put my name on it. There needs to be a letter written to Tompkins County Sheriff's Department and to the state police. They're here. Everybody knows exactly where they're at. They're sitting right down there by Nash's garage. And guess what? If you're from this town, you don't speak in front of the Caroline School because you know what's gonna happen. You gotta get off that road. Get on Thomas Road, get down to Brookendale, go to Speedsville, go White Church Road, go somewhere else. Just get off 79. Nobody, you don't see a sheriff unless it's 79. You don't see a trooper unless it's 79. There's no reason that we can't write a letter that maybe will fast track something, or maybe it will trigger something, or it'll do something in the meantime until we can figure something to slow some people down. But just the presence of a sheriff or a trooper sitting in your driveway, I mean, people are gonna notice that, the first 10 tickets that get handed out, guess what? They're gonna tell 30 people that
Yeah.
don't speed through there, you're gonna get 30. I think we can put all the signs we want. I'm not sure that that's really gonna fix it. There's some other things that I'm looking into. We have one of those fancy your speed is and it blinks and gives you the number. Sometimes that works and sometimes it's more of a joke. And so let's see if we can get these lights to blink. I put it in front of my shop just so I can watch it every day. And the amount of times that the lights blinked red because you went over the max limit that I put on it. And I went 5 miles an hour over that limit in front of my shop and the thing blinked red all day long. But there's
Yeah, but-
no way there to write a ticket.
I think you're right that it may not, people that feel fine going 55, 60 miles an hour. But then there are the people that are like, oh, I'm going faster than I thought, and they do slow down. And then those people that slow down,
But if you want
slow
to
the
take
people
driver's
behind you
license,
down.
you should do that every time you see a white speed limit sign.
Because I mean, I'm just saying, that happens to me when I go like up towards the airport and I'm like, wow, you're going too fast. I'm like, oh, I'm going too fast, when I slow down. So I don't drive crazy anyway, but the slowing down, slowing everybody else down behind me, like, so I go on Thomas Road, I never go over 40 because it's just not safe.
Well,
So, and I get people behind me not happy,
So
right? So,
Can I ask?
We-
sorry.
we have
Jonathan?
some old technology. That, in this case, I don't think, I mean, we have an old traffic counter. I don't consider doing anything. I'm actually looking into some newer technology that we can drive up, we can stick it on a tree or a stump in your lawn or on a sign or a pole. Nobody's gonna know it's there. It's just a discrete little black box. And it'll do some things for me. It gives me some traffic numbers and how many trucks and how many cars, but it also gives me a printout of how fast everybody actually is going. Then that's something that I can print off, and it's something we can move around town, so maybe when we get complaints of excessive speed, I'll already have that information, and I'll be able to hand that to the sheriff's department or whoever, so that is some technology that I'm looking into. That, you know, and again, hopefully this kind of fast track something, but the reason we didn't put the white lines on the road is narrow, and we all know it's narrow. Some places there's barely a shoulder. So compared to White Church or, we barely had enough room to do it on Lounsbury Road. That road gets narrower as you go to the Dryden end.
Where is the Dryden one, Bobby?
The Dryden, it's right in the middle.
Okay.
So basically, we own just over a mile and Dryden owns just over a mile.
I think Hades is the, and Paul, last, pretty much the last.
It's a little bit far.
Yeah, it's a new house.
It's right there.
Yeah, like new.
Okay.
But the petition needs to be turned in for two reasons. One, to see if we can get that lower, even lower than 45, but there is one thing, and I've made some phone calls today because I swear that road was posted on the Caroline side. If you drive down, it's actually not posted on the Caroline side. What do you mean when you say posted? It's posted.
Speed limit sign.
Okay, there's a speed limit coming from Dryden. Yep. And there's a speed limit when you hit Dryden. Some of that doesn't make any sense, because when the state does a study, they don't just do half the road, they do the whole road. So if we were to get that changed to 30 or 35, it's gonna affect Dryden too, it's not just gonna affect our section of the road. Road signs, I mean, speed limit signs and road signs have become valuable to somebody, because we're constantly putting up, you know, the names, Thomas Road or Lounsbury Road, or somebody's got a lot of them in their garage, and somebody's got a lot of stop signs and speed limit signs. I've been trying to go back through my notes. I know there was signs on that road, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, whether they've been run over, you know, just disappeared or what, but I'm gonna make some phone calls in the meantime and see if we can actually hold, if it's already been studied that it's 45 on the whole road, or if it really is 45 on it. If it's 45 on the whole road, then I can't just go plopping signs in, or I'm in trouble, but if I can do that, because it's already been established that it's 45, then we'll get 45-mile-an-hour signs back in and posted. In the meantime, that'll.
So we don't know if it's 45 or 55, is what you're saying?
I mean, legally, right now, it's 55. If it's not posted, it's 55 miles an hour.
It doesn't count. The sign on Dryden sign doesn't count.
Dryden sign doesn't matter, because you're not seeing Dryden sign from 79,
Okay.
you're seeing that from South.
Okay.
So it means nothing coming that way. So right now, that I think in front of your place, it is legally 55 miles an hour.
That's insane.
Wow.
So, but I can't legally just go put the sign in right now, so I have to leave for some callbacks to see where that.
Well, it would be good for us to know, it would be good for us to know if it's 45 all the way along the road before we contact the state, so we
Yeah.
get the.
That's what
proper
Bob was
information.
saying.
Right, so I mean, that's the one question I don't have, is if it really was 45, and them signs of, you know, it's not long enough to have a million signs in there, so realistically, there's only a couple signs that are gonna say 35 on this side of the road, so.
Jonathan's had his hand up for a while. See, Jonathan, do you have a comment to offer? Or
Yeah, real quick, coming at this from an ecological perspective, deer are a major issue, and unfortunately, oh, by the way, thank you for presenting this. It's terrible that that's happening to your community, and I live on Landon Road, and the same things are happening. It's people are using it as a cut through. They're going way too fast. We've had multiple deer kills on our road already this year. And so I just wanted to mention that the issue of deer is a significant one for many reasons, not just for car damage and loss of life, but ecologically speaking, particularly in Tompkins County, they're ruining our ecosystem. And the only reason I want to say this is just like many of these road improvements and safety issues are state issues, unfortunately. The deer issue is also a state issue. The DEC controls the laws around deer management. And so I just want to advocate everyone in this room, if you want to see less accidents, more better ecosystems, we need to be lobbying our representatives and staff in our DEC to be dealing with this issue, because it's as bad in terms of effect on traffic and lives and ecosystems. So just want to put that out there as well.
Great, thank you.
So that's a good question. I don't think the state takes into account deer population when they're looking at a speed limit. I don't know if they do or not. There is a planned possible amphibian crossing as well, right? That the state should know about, I would think. I mean, that we could tell the state in our petition.
It's only gonna do what's there.
Yeah, only if it were there.
What's
It's not there yet.
Not what's there.
Okay, we can't even say plan.
You would have to actually redo that.
Also like
Get that.
under the road.
Sorry?
Isn't that going under the road?
It does go under the road. Yes, it does. Yeah.
Observation. So it's gonna change.
Flashing signage about salamanders, maybe people will slow down. I mean.
I mean, there's some things we could think out of the box a little bit. I can't put anything that's gonna, I can't put speed bumps in or anything like that, you know, for the liability. Somebody's gonna drive down that road at 60 miles an hour, they're gonna launch the thing right through your front windows off that speed bump, so.
So
I mean,
the,
I'd be willing to try some, like, just out of the box stuff, maybe bring a couple barrels down or put a couple blinking lights on them and
what
between
about,
us, like it's, you know, where there's a project going on right there or something, nobody has to know while there's nothing, there's really nothing there, but we can put a couple barrels with some lights. And just see if it kind of, you know, slows people down a little bit.
what about a rumble strip like up on White Church Road before that turn?
I mean, there's a reason there was a rumble strip there, it's for the turn.
Right, no, I know.
I don't think we would want a rumble strip down there and then have to listen to that at,
Yeah.
you know, 60 miles an hour rumble strips. I just don't
Right.
think-
Okay.
Did you have a question or comment?
Yeah. Just saying, even whether it's 45 or 55, people are going 65, 70 down that road. And like even at the accident in December with the pickup truck, we were out there trying to help this guy and move debris, and this woman's trying to drive through the middle of everyone.
Yeah,
I
I was
just
gonna say,
kept
I was
going.
moving the debris.
Yeah, I'm like, where are you going? Like, we're in the middle of the road, like driving at us. I had some guy try to fight me because he had to slow down because we were walking our dog. And there was construction on the other side of the road with a new build. And because he had to slow down, he flicked me off and then decided to get out of his car and go at it. Like, yeah, it's like,
I'm not sure you can legislate that. I'm not sure you can legislate things to that.
So yeah, we went through that last year too, that was the other thing that happened, I had a kid, younger kid come from Gander. Drove right around, you know, 7 parked 10-wheelers, my road closed signs, me standing there waving at him, and he's driving through 6 inches of stone, and there's stone going everywhere. And I said, you can't come through here. And he said, well, I'm coming through here. And I said, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're not going through here. You need to turn around and go. He said, I don't have time to deal with you. That was his, I said, I don't have time, I'm late. I mean, he wasn't gonna make it another 100 feet and his car was gonna be buried. I mean, we had the road ground down 18 inches. He was never gonna make it through there. But people's, I don't know what's changed over the years, but it is a town-wide thing. Not speaking as a highway superintendent, last year I was the fire chief in Speedsville. This year I'm an assistant chief in Speedsville. It's everywhere, it's down there. I mean, we're picking people out of ditches that, it's just crazy. I mean, We didn't want to, we could go on Boyceville Road, it's a blizzard and a whiteout. And for some reason, then somehow they got going about, 60 miles an hour and drove the thing right clean into one of those, driveway headers and broke her femur. I don't know why you would want to go that fast in the blizzard, but apparently they had to go somewhere and they were in a hurry. I think if we drafted a letter, we could actually get quite a few signatures to that letter, including all 3 fire departments, highway department and the town board. I think the problem is bigger than Thomas Road. It's a townwide problem
I know.
that needs something done. And to start out with as simple as writing that letter and getting the higher signatures on it, not just, town folks, but fire departments. We'll put the highway department on there. And, I don't wanna say bigger names, but the bigger, portions of the town.
I mean, the studies do happen. There aren't many people assigned to do those studies.
Right, but the study's gonna take a year, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to do something in the meantime, we can't just sit back and wait a year.
DOT has 3 people working in the region.
What's that?
She told me, DOT has 3 people working in the region. That's what we're dealing with.
Right,
So-
it's-
When I called up to argue about Coddington Road.
Yeah, so we'll write a letter. At the next board meeting, we'll offer a resolution to authorize a speed limit study and submit that to the county to get that moving. What else?
If we
Well-
draft that letter, Mark, I will be willing to take that around.
But when
And
will,
receive some of those other signatures.
at what point you said you had to figure out exactly what the speed limit was?
So you're gonna figure out the speed limit?
Well, I'm gonna have to figure out this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Regardless, when we do to ask for the study, right now, they don't care what the speed limit is.
Okay.
They're gonna do their study
Okay.
on what they think it should be.
All right, and at the same
But it's
time,
just for our knowledge to know
Yeah.
what that speed limit is, and if we can put some signs up, because it really legally is already posted, then we can do that.
okay,
But if it's not legally posted, I can't just go put the 45
Right.
mile an hour sign.
but while we're doing this other stuff, you're gonna find out what the speed limit is supposed to be.
Yeah, if it's
Right.
legally posted as 45, or if it's not posted.
Okay,
If it's posted
I mean-
at 55, then like I said, regardless, we'll do some out of the box stuff and bring some.
Yeah.
Hurdles or.
I mean, it could be good just to have that information.
Yeah,
and
I mean, if it's supposed to be 45, we need a 45 sign there.
Right,
Because especially when you're coming
Yeah.
from Dryden,
and maybe,
go south,
maybe it's not.
it changes and people are gonna slam
But-
on their
yeah.
accelerator, so.
I mean, what's frustrating is that 79 is 45 all the way in, right? And it's got big wide shoulders, good sight lines, except for right at Beesmer, right? But, the little roads are 55 that aren't posted. When they don't have shoulders, they don't have sight lines.
Right, if it's not posted, there's no posted speed limit, it is legally 55 miles.
That's the maximum you're supposed to go.
And then what were your thoughts about the white stripe at the side of the road?
I mean, it's nothing we can do now, we can try that, this spring, but I mean, we can't do it. Now, we're not gonna get things to kind of dry up, but,
Sure.
realistically, there's no improvements to that road for another, 4 years, I think, so. We previously oiled stones, so all of that's done. Unless something drastic happens, we're not doing anything. So we could put those lines down and see what happens. Like I said, it's good, some of it's gonna be hard because some of that line is really not gonna be on much pavement at all in certain spots, so that's the reason we didn't do it, because the road just physically is not that wide, so. But we can put them on there and, hopes that it does
Great.
something.
Yeah.
And we'll do some out of the box.
Great. Yes.
Hi, I wanted to add something that's not directly about safety, but maybe more about ecology or just the treatment of the road. So we live at 140 Thomas Road. Rich and Nancy are our neighbors, and there's significant stretch of land between us and the next nearest house, which is 188. And someone, it could just be one person or multiple people are basically using our ditch as a trash can.
Mhm.
And it's just, I mean, it's soon, I've seen when they clean out the ditch, the next day, there's already garbage. And I don't know what, you know, what it would take to get a sign, just a no littering, or a sign that says, you know, there's a fine, or, you know, there's wetlands, maybe, you know, but just something that raises awareness, that we're aware that it's not just, you know, no one's land. Anyway, that's just another aspect of it.
Sure, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, the watershed committee, so the town has a roadside cleanup day, or I guess it's, and the watershed committee's been promoting roadside ditch and stream cleanup in the last few years, so, and we're gonna do that again this year,
For a
but
few years, I knew somebody drove near my house. I knew the size of the diapers the baby wore, what they had for breakfast. It was on the way to work, I'm sure, and they
Yeah.
just tossed it out the window.
yeah.
And I never did figure out who that was, but I kept thinking if I get there at the right time, I will see the car. I just picked it up every couple days.
So I know the county has an adopt a highway program
Mhm.
on some of their roads.
Mhm.
I know they've done that for years. I don't have a lot of information about it. Maybe down the road, that's something we could do townwide. We haven't done it, but there's no reason we couldn't.
There's some roads around here that have adopt a highway signs.
What's up?
There are some roads around here that have that.
There's none on a town road. They're all on county roads.
Like, I think,
That's a county project. The town doesn't have that project.
like going on Boyceville, right? Is that a
That's
county?
that's a county road.
Okay. I know that's for Kevin Arsenal.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's something that we could do and promote and tie that with, that cleanup, but the nice part about that is when that garbage is picked up, it can be set on the side of the road and, you know, then we swing out and grab it. So it's basically how that adopt a highway works. Whoever sponsors it kind of keeps it picked up, that garbage gets kind of put there, you make a phone call, somebody shows up and grabs it, so it's not such a burden to you to pay to get rid of the garbage, it all kind of falls onto that program,
Okay.
so.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's something we can kind of look at going forward.
All right,
Thank you, everybody.
yeah,
One more thing, you know, if there's enforcement, there's a study, obviously, we talked about it when, parked up by Nash, just trying to get the speeders in the early morning hours. What's the harm of asking them to leave that post 20 minutes early and post up right on my secondary driveway at 106 Thomas? Maybe they'll catch some guys coming around, right? I mean, it doesn't matter, we don't know the speed limit. But I like the idea of throwing the kitchen sink at it in the meantime, if you find out it is 45. But you definitely have enforcement there, at least once a week. You're getting split time. They'll get more tickets on Thomas.
So
Maybe if
who
enough of
decides
us
how to do that?
That's the
Right, everybody puts a call
That's how we
in.
do it on the state road.
Get some,
Yeah.
That's the troopers.
couple times a month.
But Thomas isn't a state road.
No,
No, so we can't.
So it's gotta be sheriff then?
yeah.
Well, I mean, the state trooper can pull you over on whatever road he wants.
Well, that's true, but I don't know if it's there.
I mean, they're
But we'll
just a
just,
state entity and.
I mean, we will look into all of this and.
We'd have to talk to the sheriff. Yeah.
Like I said, I think when we write that letter, we just send it to both.
Yep.
Like I said, if you, we can draft a letter or
Yeah.
whatever, and I'll carry that to.
okay, let's do that.
And
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Rich and Nancy, for
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
this. Yeah, thanks for coming tonight.
Sorry, it's not a simple solution.
All right. All right, so shall we circle back to committee reports before we begin the other parts of the business meeting? So I'll open it up for committee reports.
You want to talk about the planning committee?
Sure.
No? So,
Good night, Dave.
so I sent everybody, the list of what the planning committee would like to do. And so they're looking for feedback, and they're looking for feedback on the, critically, the CEAs about whether or not they should pursue that, or whether, I think the concern might be that with everything that we've gone through, with zoning and stuff, it might be too soon to try to do something like that.
I mean, I don't think it's too soon for them to investigate plotting CEAs. It's something that the comprehensive plan opened the door to 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's information that would be helpful and valuable to both the review board and the zoning board of appeals. If it had that information, so I think it would be extremely helpful. On the other hand, it may never be used. Which I think Bill is aware of, but if they're willing to put in the legwork to looking into that, I don't think it would be unhelpful.
Okay, and
Personally,
does anybody have any comments about the other projects that they're
I
proposing?
mean, didn't we already give them this feedback a couple?
Not about these
Yeah.
particular ones that are on this list. I don't really, this is for like 2025,
Okay,
the solar law, flood damage prevention law, stormwater law. Stormwater law, they're not really sure what might need work. They're working on the critical environmental areas, and then the right to farm law, does the agriculture committee believe that needs to be updated?
So the flood damage law, we have the FEMA floodplains were just updated, and it becomes effective on June 18th, I think. So they
Okay.
sent us they sent us instructions on how to update our flood laws. But
Okay.
if the planning board has, that is basically boilerplate type editing.
Okay, so I'm gonna write, okay,
So it might be, if the planning board feels like they want to make adjustments to the flood damage law, that would be interesting to know.
and so what about, I guess, does anybody have any problems with this list that they have identified for what they want to work on?
No.
I have a question. I'm sorry to say it. When is the Caroline Comprehensive Vision Plan supposed to be updated? It's 2020, it's been 5 years.
Well, it hasn't been 5 years, it's been 4 years, right, you're starting.
Oh, you're right. But it got adopted, you're right, it got
Not to
adopted in
put too fine a point on it, but
in January. It's 4 years. I'm just
Okay.
wondering how.
In my humble opinion, we are not ready to
I have no idea.
revise the comprehensive plan.
All right, I wasn't
Seems
sure.
like
It
we have a
used
lot
to
of
be the
things.
old comprehensive plan recommended, I think, every 5 years, so. I was just-
Okay, we got another year for that, so.
Okay.
And what about the right, I mean, if, I guess it would be great since, Jonathan and Catherine, are you on the agriculture committee? About whether they, or is this something you could bring to the committee, whether the agriculture committee believes that the right to farm law should be updated?
Yeah, we can address that, but yeah, we haven't had a meeting, so I can't do any reports, but yeah, I can mention that in the committee.
All right, and if so, you should, let me know or let the planning board know, but you could let me know.
Okay.
Let me know. Okay, and then does anybody else have any comments about or concerns about them working on identifying some critical environmental areas?
No,
in
those are
Carolina?
different than the unique natural areas. These
They are.
are.
Yes,
Critical environmental areas. There's
Yes.
mostly water, what is the
I'm not sure
critical environment?
there's all kinds of. I don't know what all the qualifications are for
Criteria.
everything, yeah, the criteria, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, that would.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know
that
what
would
they
be
are.
something we'd find out, maybe you guys think.
Okay, Well, I'm sure there's a list, but do you have any problems with them working on this?
No.
Or you're not? Do you have any problem? I mean,
I was just wondering about the solar law. I mean,
Okay.
we adopted that relatively recently.
yes,
And I think it's kind of a fertile ground now looking into agrivoltaics. So I think we're not ready to, I think we need more information on what's going to come from that realm before we consider updating the law. That's my humble opinion.
anybody else have any? No, so, yeah, okay,
And based on discussions in the review board over the solar fuel, I agree. I mean, it's just
Okay.
really an early developing
Okay.
process. So I think Mark's right.
okay. Stormwater law update. I guess I got the impression that the people that gave the presentation, you know, Roxy Johnson, and that they thought we should update it, but I might have misunderstood that.
Okay. It would be nice to know what the recommendations are, that we,
So
what their concerns are about.
that, Ms. Johnson and Rebecca Myers, I mean, or,
Yeah.
okay, because Bill's saying that the planning board's unclear about it. Okay. So we don't know. Okay. So I'll just pass this on to the.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big list, so it's kind of overwhelming, and
There's four members of the planning board. It's gonna look like a lot of work.
I think that one thing that should be identified and then the first thing on your list is the mobile home law,
And they're working on this now.
and I think that's a good thing. And
Yeah.
so that seems chewable to me. That seems
Yeah.
like a good thing to be working on, so.
Okay.
Good.
All right, well, I'll pass this information on. Okay.
Great, thank you.
So that's it for my report.
Any other committee reports? to offer?
She did, Bob submitted a monthly report for the code officer. He sent it to us at least. Did he send it to you guys?
I'm not, when did you send
Only
it?
I got it.
I didn't.
Maybe he just sent it to me. So I'll look
That would
and,
normally be due at the business meeting?
yes, so, but I think I have it for January.
Okay,
So I'll send it to you. He must have just sent it to me.
great, okay. So let's move on to the business items, and the first one is the resolution to adopt a local law to allow cannabis retail and consumption facilities. In light of the comments offered by Catherine Goldberg, I would be interested in not putting that forward tonight and allow further conversation and research and reflection. And that would be but I'm open to.
I think we should at least pause until the business meeting so that we have a chance to read the materials Catherine
Yeah,
gave to us.
Thank you for
I
bringing
agree with that.
Great,
I don't think there's any reason to rush to
No.
adopt it, so.
No,
great, okay.
Happy to talk about it like anytime.
Louder, please.
I'm just happy to talk about it anytime. I don't know how much discussion there's been. There's not like we have like a public health committee in Caroline or something, you know, in terms of planning, right? This is like a good example of a bunch of different stakeholders. It's not like I'm the sole, mental health professional in the town. I think like it would be prudent to have more conversation about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So.
We agree. Yeah, that's good.
So, great, thank you.
Great.
All right, so with that, I will offer a resolution to readopt the bond resolution authorizing construction of a townwide broadband service system. So resolve the Caroline Town Board hereby repeals Resolution 61 of 2025. Municipal broadband bond resolution. And adopts the following revised bond resolution. Let's see. Whereas as to the purpose described herein, the Empire State Development Corporation has been determined it to constitute a type 2 action as defined under regulations of the state of New York promulgated pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which by such definition will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. And whereas the capital project hereinafter described has been determined to be a type 1 action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation promulgated pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the implementation of which, as proposed, the town board has determined will not have any significant adverse impact on the environment. And whereas in the working to implement reliable and equitable deployment of Broadband Act of 2022, constituting Part MMM of Chapter 58 of the laws of 2022, the Broadband Act, the state legislature found and declared that access to high-speed, reliable, and affordable broadband is essential for education, economic growth, and full participation in civic life, and that the benefits of broadband access should be available to all. And whereas in said Broadband Act, the general municipal law was amended by adding a new section 99Y thereof, authorizing any county, city, town, or village to establish, construct, and maintain broadband and related telecommunications infrastructure. Where at the town of Caroline, Tompkins County, New York, the town has determined to provide the availability of broadband service as defined in the act to all residents of the town. And whereas it is now desired to authorize the financing of such capital project, now therefore be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the town board of the town of Caroline, Tompkins County, New York, as follows. Section 1. The construction of a town-wide broadband service system for the town of Caroline, Tompkins County, New York, including original furnishings, equipment, machinery, apparatus, appurtenances, and other incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith, is hereby authorized at a maximum estimated cost of $6,450,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing of aforesaid maximum estimated cost is by the issuance of not exceeding 6.45 million bonds of said town, thereby authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law, provided, however, that to the extent that any grants and aid are received for such purpose, the amount of obligations to be issued pursuant to this resolution shall be reduced dollar for dollar. Section 3, it is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid specific object or purpose is 10 years pursuant to subdivision 109 of paragraph A of section 11 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4, faith and credit of said town of Caroline, Tompkins County, New York are hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds becoming due and payable in such year. There shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property of said town a tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section 5, subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of the bonds herein authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the town supervisor, the chief fiscal officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, form, and contents, and shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by said town supervisor, consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 6, all other matters except as provided herein relating to such bonds, including determining whether to issue such bonds, having substantially level or declining annual debt service, and all matters related thereto, describing whether manual or facsimile signatures shall appear on said bonds, prescribing the method for the recording of ownership of said bonds, appointing the fiscal agent or agents for said bonds, providing for the printing and delivery of said bonds, and if said bonds are to be executed in the name of the town by the facsimile signature of the town supervisor, providing for the manual countersignature of a fiscal agent or of a designated official of the town, the date, denominations, maturities, and interest payment dates, place or places of payment, and also including the consolidation with other issues shall be determined by the town supervisor. Such bond shall contain substantially the recital of validity clause provided for in section 52 of the local finance law, and shall otherwise be in such form and contain such recitals in addition to those required by section 52 of the local finance law, as the town supervisor shall determine. Section 7, this resolution shall constitute an official constitute a statement of official intent for purposes of Treasury regulations, section 1.150-2. Other than is specified in this resolution, no monies are or are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent funding of the object or purpose described herein. Section 8, the validity of such bonds and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if, 1, such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or 2, the provisions of law which should be complied with at the date of publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with, and an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication. 3, such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 9, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum, as to which notice shall be published and posted within 10 days hereof. After the lapsing of said period, thereafter, this resolution shall be published in summary form in the Ithaca Journal and the official newspaper of said town designated for such purpose, together with a notice of the town clerk in substantially the form set forth in paragraph A of section 81 of the local finance law. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. And do we have discussion or questions?
Do you have anything for me? Anything else?
No.
Meeting-wise?
No.
No.
All right, I just started at 2 and I gotta be back
Okay.
at 2, so kind of running out of steam.
Great.
so.
Thank you.
Okay, well,
Good luck tomorrow with the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for.
I think we covered everything last week, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, thanks for that.
So I will call for a vote by roll call. So Jonathan Bates,
Yes.
okay. Kate Kelly McKenzie
Aye.
and Michelle Brown,
Hi.
okay. Tim Murray
Aye.
and Mark Whitmer, yes, aye. Great. The resolution is adopted unanimously. Great. Thank you. I hope I don't have to read the resolution again.
Right. You did a good job.
All right.
Nice.
Now, would somebody like to offer the next resolution? I'm happy to do so. So,
Would you like somebody else to read it?
I was wondering if maybe Jonathan wanted to, since he's on the ag committee.
He might not, does he have it?
Do you have it, Jonathan?
You have it with him?
Yes, I'm here and I'm looking at the agenda and
It's buried after the bond resolution there, so.
has it changed since the one I'm looking at is older? Has it changed at all in any of the board meeting agendas?
Why
don't think so.
why don't I just read the one that
Okay.
we have?
Yeah.
Tim will,
Take the pressure off.
yeah, Tim will read it, Jonathan. You wanna
Okay.
do- Yeah, okay.
Resolution to adopt the Town of Caroline Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan. Whereas the Town of Caroline established an agriculture committee in May 2021 in response to agriculture-related recommendations emerging from the update of the town's comprehensive plan in 2020. And whereas the agriculture committee charge was to investigate and recommend measures to support local agriculture and food justice issues. And whereas the Caroline Agriculture Committee contacted New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets for information about New York Municipal Farmland Protection Planning grants, and thereafter applied for grant support in August 2022 and received notice of the award in November 2022. And whereas the Agricultural Committee, with support from the Town of Caroline Board, developed a work plan, hired consultants, and engaged with the process of gathering input and recommendations from the farm community during the past 2 years. And whereas the committee has now concluded the work of developing the Town of Caroline Agriculture Plan, and whereas the agriculture plan was released in its entirety to the public via the town website and various email lists at the beginning of November, and whereas the Agriculture Committee approved the plan at an Agriculture Committee meeting held on November 4th, 2024 at the Brooktondale Community Center, and whereas the town publicized and held a public hearing on November 20, 2024 on the proposed Caroline Agriculture and Farmland Protection AFPB plan, where minutes were duly taken, and whereas the plan has been presented to the Tompkins County Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board, who endorsed the plan at their December 5th, 2024 APFB meeting. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Caroline Board, having met the obligations required by New York State for development of a town agriculture and farmland protection plan, approves and adopts the Town of Caroline Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan as updated on January 27th, 2025, and assigns joint responsibility for plan implementation to the Agriculture Committee with support from the Town Board. And further, be it resolved, the town submit the Caroline Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan to the Commissioner of Agriculture for state approval.
Great,
Thank you.
yeah. I'll second that, so. That's great, so,
I
and
third it.
what's that, Jonathan?
You beat me. I third it.
Okay, Jonathan gets the second on that, so that's fine. So has the plan already been submitted to the Commissioner of Agriculture or not yet?
No, I did submit to Jeff Kehoe, who's the staff person at Ag and Markets, and he, looked at it and said it looks good, but it's not going to the commissioner. He just
I see.
gave me the list of things we have to submit along with the plan
Okay,
to finish out the process.
great.
So he's looked at it and said it's
So I do want to acknowledge the Ag Committee. Catherine Goldberg is here, and I think Jonathan Bates is on the committee. So there are a few members here, but I want to acknowledge Monica Roth, who did a lot of work for it. So thank you, Monica, so much.
weird.
Yeah.
You sure you don't want to do another revision, Monica?
There are probably some edits every time that you edit it. It's like, really?
Oh, you do want to do a revision?
It's a good start, it's a good, plan to start working from.
Right.
That's the point of it, really. It's not the end of the process, it's the beginning of the process.
Right. So I'll just point out, I think we're all aware there are some action items towards the end that will, be
Yeah, I'll,
considering.
I hope I can start to pull all the package together this week and next week and
Great.
meet and make sure we have everything.
Great.
I just heard from Bobby that we have signs, which is literally be still my beating heart, because you know how long I've wanted these signs.
Those, I think
So
we've had those signs for some time.
amazing. I mean, that is like was my hill to die on. I'm so excited.
This,
When did they get, did he say when he?
I don't know, he just said I have your sign.
Well, he's had them for,
They just.
he's had them for at least a year.
But we need them up.
I know, but that is a big.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in his garage or
Put
something.
one on Thomas Road, right to farm, people will slow down.
What's that mean? Who's farming here?
Great, okay. Are we ready to vote?
I'm ready to vote. I am ready.
Great, so, all in favor of adoption of the Caroline Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan, say aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed? Do you have some reservations, Jonathan? No. Great, that is unanimously adopted. Thank you.
We're never being excited when we pass something. We're getting any applause.
I'm afraid to express their excitement.
Bag, I gotta go feed horses.
Bye.
So the next item, is that we did, revise. Good night, Monica, thank you.
Thank you.
We did revise the tax exemptions, really just a few tweaks, that were following the county lead. I'll just point those out quickly. So the maximum income for 50% exemption for senior and disabled increased from 35,000 to 36,500. And then for the veterans exemptions, for the Cold War veterans, there was a 10-year limit. So the 10-year limit for this exemption is extended indefinitely for qualifying owners as long as they remain in their home. That's a change. And okay, and then the veterans exemptions, the thresholds were increased. So the alternative veterans exemption, assessed value of property, not exceeding 15,000 was changed to not exceeding 21,000. For veterans having served in a combat theater or combat zone, that exception was increased from 10,000 to 35,000, or that threshold. And then for veterans receiving a qualifying compensation rating because of a service-connected disability, the exemption threshold increased from 50,000 to 70,000. So otherwise it's the same, and we passed all of the Caroline
On the next page.
exemptions. What that?
You missed that one, I think.
Nice, I read that.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of our exemptions are captured in this single local law for clarity, so we'll want to hold a public hearing at the next meeting. And that I made a note to bring that up. So the next meeting, the third Wednesday of this month, is on the 19th. That's the last day of the business meeting of the Association of Towns. So the question is, might we want to move that meeting to the 20th, Thursday?
Makes sense.
Works for me.
That works for you? Great. Is that okay with everyone?
Velvet or? Velvet?
Jesse, you talked to Jesse about it.
I talked to Jessie about it. She was fine with it. She suggested it, actually.
It's great. She's go good with it.
Great.
Wait, so the next meeting.
what was that date again? I'm sorry.
The 20th.
Move it one day back to the 20th. Give us a little more breathing room.
The Thursday.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, so I will offer a resolution to move the February business meeting from the 19th to the 20th, same time, 7 PM.
Second.
Second by Tim. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I will offer a resolution to hold a public hearing on the town of Caroline tax exemption local law. Beginning at 7 PM on February 20th. 2025. Here at the town hall. Any
I'll second.
second by Michelle. Michelle jumped on it. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Now the fun part.
Yeah, fun part, I did bring printed copies of the, so this, there are like, I think 17 resolutions on the legislative agenda for the Association of Towns meetings. Did everybody get a copy of that? Yeah.
See,
I will point out, one of the resolutions
Yeah.
is for local speed limit control, so we'll be supporting that one.
Which we do every year.
Right, it's always approved. And the state endorses it, is that what it sounds like?
Yeah.
Great, yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
That was you out there
Yeah.
in the dark.
We're just about to head out and do something and then.
Was that you with your hand out the window?
We thought we heard thunder, like, you know, and we didn't know till they came down to.
Well, I pulled up just as he was climbing into the truck. You were already there.
Yeah.
And, but what was really incredible, I forgot about that idiot who's just weaving through.
Yeah, she just kept driving over the.
So I actually had the kid. He looked okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
I made him help me start moving. There were concrete sandbags.
Oh, yeah, I saw
Back
that.
of this truck.
Yeah, this is serious debris from the back of his truck.
And then when the
He was
EMS, the county EMS guy came right away.
Yeah,
So when he came, I was actually going down to Hades to get my bread.
yeah.
So then when I came back, I think you were still directing traffic in the pitch dark.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I was worried about you because couldn't see you at all because the fire truck had come by that time
Yeah,
and the lights were, but that's weird.
yeah, it was.
I think the kid was taken to a trauma center.
Well, I read that on the Brooktondale fire thing.
Yeah.
They said they took him to a trauma center, so he must have collapsed later or something.
Oh, yeah.
He must have had a
maybe
head.
after having moved all the sandbags.
Yeah, maybe I caused that.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that girl just driving through.
Yeah,
When
and the kid was obviously flying. I mean, he must have
Yeah,
had
he
that.
was.
Yeah.
when was this?
Before Christmas, just
Oh.
before Christmas.
And you came, what time of day was it?
It was like 5 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Roughly.
wasn't.
Just after it got dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just happened to cross it, like,
No, I mean, I go down and get bread from Haiti every Friday afternoon, so I was going to get my bread and, yeah, it was just happenstance.
wow.
But it's not the first time we've seen, I mean,
I didn't know there was a bread source down on Thomas Road.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tell you all about it.
Okay.
I didn't know that either.
You didn't know that?
No.
You can order bread from Haiti every Friday afternoon.
She never told us this.
And you can go pick it, she puts it out in a bag, and I go down and pick it up.
Cool.
And you order it online.
Oh,
No
You
kidding.
get it every Friday.
nice.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Great, thanks for coming.
Stay
Good night.
safe.
All right, so what we normally do is circulate through and all, you know, rotate and read the resolutions and decide what we think about them.
Okay.
Mark,
Yeah,
do you have these written so I can just cut and paste?
oh, absolutely. You don't
Thank
need,
Goodness.
I have them printed out. And we'll just, you know, it'll either be a yes or no vote on each one by the.
Okay,
Yeah, dude, yeah, absolutely, Velvet, yeah.
all right, thanks.
Read all the.
We actually have to read.
And I don't think we're gonna read it. What I've done before, I think, is in some cases, I mean, like the first one, say, who wants to take that, preserve and support home rule. It's basic, it's pretty general. It's just basically saying, you know, we're gonna do whatever we can to support local home rule authority. So I think unless, I guess the reader should read anything if they want to add background or whatever, but the resolved are the action things. So if we just read the resolves,
Okay.
that would be my suggestion. Does anybody want to start with that one?
I will.
Okay.
Resolution number 1, preserve and support home rule. Resolved that the Association of Town calls on the governor and the state legislature to preserve and strengthen home rule, and be it further resolved that the Association of Town will oppose any state or federal initiative that would weaken or eliminate New York's long-standing tradition of home rule and local government authority.
Very appropriate this week.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so can I just put that to a vote?
Or are we gonna do the whole thing at once? It's up to you.
I think we should yay or nay on each one. It's not an official vote.
Okay.
I can vote however I want when I get there, but I'm just getting the temperature of the board on these.
Yeah, okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Is that an aye from you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm slow tonight. Sorry. I.
Okay, great. So that one unanimous, yes. Maintain, I guess I'll do the next one since I am to Kate's left. Maintain and increase aid and incentives to municipalities funding. I definitely support this because that's revenue sharing. And it's much decreased from what it was in the past. So resolve the Association of Towns calls on the governor and state legislature to increase the state funded AIM appropriations by 210 million to account for the rate of inflation and increased costs borne by local governments. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Michelle?
Resolution number 3, declare general ambulance service an essential service and provide service funding. Resolved that the New York Association of Towns, NYAOT, calls on the governor and legislature to declare general ambulance services an essential service in New York, and be it further resolved that NYAOT calls on the governor, legislature, and state agencies to support ambulance service through dedicated funding and providing other forms of financial assistance, such as grants, programs, and increasing Medicaid reimbursements. Should I call for a vote?
Sure.
Call it. Who's supposed to? All right.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 That one makes sense. Number 4, Tim.
Resolution 4, increase the salary cap for retired public officials returning to public service. Resolved that the New York Association of Towns calls upon the governor and legislature to amend state law to increase from $35,000 and attach an annual cost of living COLA increase to the salary cap placed on retired public employees who continue their public service.
I had no idea about this restriction or whatever, but
I'm in favor. I mean, call for vote?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. I'm just using a check mark. I think we're gonna get a lot of ayes here.
Does Jonathan go or?
Oh, yeah, Jonathan, you want to do number 5? Or do you have it in front of you?
Sure, I do.
Okay.
This is reform tier 6 of the New York State and local retirement system.
That's it.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I need my glasses. I'll struggle here. Oh no, there it is. Okay. I was prepared to be at the meeting and I had all my stuff ready to go. Whereas Chapter 18 of the laws of 2012 established Tier 6 of the New York State and local retirement system, which amends the retirement benefits of public employees who establish membership in a public employee retirement system on or after April 1st, 2012. And can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Whereas reforms to Tier 6 have made jobs in the public sector less attractive and thus made it harder for the state and local governments to recruit or retain workers. And whereas local government employees perform essential services in their communities, and whereas it is critical for local governments to recruit and retain skilled, qualified workers to maintain government operations, now therefore be it resolved that the New York Association of Towns calls on the governor and legislator to reform Tier 6 to develop cost-effective options to improve local government workforce development.
Great. All in favor of that?
There's a background there, but we don't need to read that, right?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, I would say not.
Do we have a second? Or we already aye?
Yeah, we're just voting informally, so.
Okay.
Is aye, A or nay?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
aye, okay, great. I just know that the Tier 6 is is the most watered down retirement level, so. But I don't know, I'd be interested in like talking to the comp or, to Napoli about, I bet it's not easy to change stuff like this that structures the retirement benefits, so.
Well, I am definitely for increasing it. I'm in Tier 6.
Okay.
We'll do it. We're gonna do it right away.
Okay, thank you, Velvet.
All right.
Yeah.
Resolution number 6, create a dedicated funding source for commercial driver's license training. Resolved that the New York Association of Towns calls on the governor and legislature to create a dedicated funding source to establish a commercial driver's license training cost reimbursement program for state and local government employees in New York State.
I would say aye.
Aye.
I don't know if you guys noticed, $7,000 for a 10-week course, that's
Right.
pretty pricey.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
Aye.
Amend civil service rules to create a more efficient hiring process for public employees. I'll read the last whereas amendments to civil service could include but are not limited to things like making a provisional employee permanent if a test is not offered within 9 months after an individual is provisionally appointed to a position, or if an exam is offered within 9 months, the provisional appointee is scored on a pass-fail basis, or removing professions licensed by New York State from the competitive classification. I guess I don't understand that, but resolved that the Association of Towns calls on the governor and state legislature to amend civil service rules to make hiring process easier for public employees by allowing provisional employees to automatically become permanent employees after 9 months if no exam is available in that time period, and by declaring that professions licensed by the state should not be classified as competitive. I support this one.
I certainly support this one.
Yeah. Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
Hey,
We got all eyes on that one. Great.
resolution number 8, provide towns with negotiation authority in pilot agreements that impact their tax base. Resolved that the New York Association of Towns requests legislative action to ensure that governing bodies of affected tax jurisdictions have the ability to approve agreements that impact the tax jurisdiction's real property tax base. This seems reasonable.
This would actually impact us because right now the solar project is negotiating with the county to set their pilot agreement, and we aren't involved.
That's right.
So I'm very much for this.
Okay.
Me too.
Aye.
Aye.
So Tim, following up on that, did you learn that from the presentation from Dee Sun in those, during the course of review?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it came up in the last meeting, I think.
Oh,
or
it did?
Not the last meeting, but the meeting before.
Me before, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't hear that,
Yeah,
but yeah, I've been kind of anxious about it. Are you up next, Tim?
Oh, I guess I am. Resolution 9, reform inequities in the real property tax cap formula. Resolved that the NYAOT calls on the governor and legislature to adopt tax cap reforms to remedy inequities in the formula, including but not limited to removing infrastructure project costs from the calculation, capping the inclusion of increased healthcare premium costs to 2% of such costs, excluding salary adjustments necessary for workforce development, and removing special improvement district costs from the tax cap calculation.
I support the principle. I will say that I think the tax cap calculation should be extremely simple. For the simple reason that you can override it and
Right.
it's a non-issue.
Right.
It's just a little reminder to boards, I believe. So I guess I support this one, but
So
I don't
I
think
was
it's a big
just
deal.
wondering on the fourth whereas, says towns are required to include costs associated with infrastructure projects in their tax cap calculation, while other entities have the ability to exclude these costs. What entities? Like villages or?
Oh, I wonder.
It's probably counties.
Yeah, I wonder if it's fire
Cities.
I was
departments.
wondering.
Cities, counties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or it could be fire department,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I don't, yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Aye.
I, yeah. I think we could talk about it for a while. Just kidding.
Yes, not too late. Lots of time.
You need me to go again? You want me to read again?
You get number, yeah, you get number 10 there, Jonathan. We're
I'm just reading resolve.
just reading the resolves. If
Yep. Resolved that the New York Association of Towns calls on the governor and legislature to maintain support and increase funding for CHIPS, PAVE New York, Bridge New York, Extreme Winter Recovery, POP, state touring routes, and other transportation funding in the 25-26 state budget, and to continue to provide stable and sustainable long-term funding for local infrastructure.
I support this.
Yeah.
Aye.
No brainer. It does seem like the CHIPS funding has been very generous recently. Wow. That's a good thing. So number 11 for, there it is, way down there.
Where is it?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Oh, okay.
Right at the bottom.
It starts at the
Okay.
bottom of
Oh,
10,
yeah.
it starts.
Resolution number 11, increase or repeal the tax levy limits for highway equipment purchases. Resolved that the Association of Towns supports legislation amending or repealing Highway Law 271 to authorize all towns to increase the amount of taxes they can levy annually without the expense of a referendum to purchase highway equipment.
I say aye.
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 Yeah.
Aye.
$60,000.
You're up to 12.
Option to set speed limits on local roads.
Oh, is that the next one?
Yeah.
You're getting it, Kate?
No, I just did 11.
You
Okay.
just did
You did
11.
You get
11?
it.
Oh,
You get
okay.
11.
I get the honor.
You
Okay.
do.
Provide all towns with the option to set speed limits on local roads. So resolve that the Association of Town calls on the legislature and governor to amend vehicle traffic law 1662A so that all town boards have the option, via local law, to set speed limits within their jurisdictions pursuant to the requirements outlined in vehicle traffic law 1662A. I will point out that it's, from when I read this, you can set your own speed limits, but you have to do it. You basically do your own speed study with an engineering firm. So it's either state does it or you do it. It's not that you just get to decide what the speed
Okay,
limit
so you have
is.
to pay for it.
Within their.
Well, you have to pay for it,
jurisdiction.
and it's not just arbitrary.
Okay.
So the vehicle and traffic law, okay.
It's in this background stuff that I
Okay.
read, so it's, you know, I think it's important that we don't imply to people that the town board can just say, hey, 35 everywhere in town, and that's that. So it's not gonna work that
I
way.
did drive through a town near Albany where it said town speed limit 35 miles per hour.
Well, yeah,
You know,
it can
well,
probably be,
the whole town.
yeah, so that's what the engineer said. I
It
guess.
had over 50,000 people in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they can set it.
But, yeah. Anyway, I
Okay.
think we're all in favor of this, right?
I,
Yep.
Great.
Aye.
What is a suburban class town?
A suburban class town?
A suburban class town, I guess we are rural.
That must be 50,000 or more.
No, because it says here, all cities and villages, regardless of population, have the authority to set local speed limits. But only certain towns, suburban class towns, towns with populations exceeding 50,000, or towns with special state authorization, have the authority to reduce speed limits on local roads. I don't know
That's,
what that means.
we can Google that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, oh, my turn.
Yeah.
Resolution 13, create a dedicated funding program for municipal water and sewer infrastructure. Resolved that the New York Association of Towns calls on the governor and legislature to create a dedicated funding program for municipal water and sewer infrastructure using a fair and equitable formula to distribute funds annually to municipalities.
I guess that makes sense, right?
it doesn't really pertain to us. I,
Yeah.
Aye.
14, Reform Public Service Law, Article 8, resolved that the New York Association of Towns calls on the governor and legislature to amend Public Service Law, Article 8 in the following ways. Reinstate automatic adjudicatory hearings where host municipalities are parties as of right and return to the standard previously used to determine the applicability of local laws to proposed projects.
Oh, this is for local,
This is for electronic transmission facilities. Primarily, it looks like.
and major renewable energy projects.
Yep.
What do we think about this one?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
I don't know what it means.
So this is consistent with supporting home rule.
Home rule.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I'll say aye. Yeah.
okay, okay, 15. Oh, we're almost done.
Getting there.
Oh, it's me. No, it's you.
It's Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Oh, I'll
You-
go. Oh, yeah,
No.
resolve that the New York Association of Towns supports the creation of dedicated funding source to assist municipalities with testing and remediation requirements and preventative measures relating to PFAS. Aye.
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 Okay,
Okay, resolution number 16. Foster opportunities for small-scale renewable energy development in participating towns. Resolved that the New York Association of Towns calls on the governor and legislature to use state programs and resources like the Clean Energy Communities to assist participating municipalities with smaller scale renewable energy development in their towns.
Aye.
aye. I would be interested
That's
in
the,
particulars about that, but yeah. Definitely.
that's the
support.
last one.
Was that the last one?
It was, the next page is a copy of the
Oh, yeah.
previous one.
I thought there were 17.
Oh, I thought there were.
We
Oh,
didn't
you
get-
know what? They copied the last page twice and forgot it.
Yeah, that was my problem. I did that.
Oh.
Does anybody know what number 17 was?
I'm looking right now. Wait a minute.
Provide guidance and resources for battery energy storage systems. I would say aye if we can say it.
I see it on the front page, yeah. That sounds, I support that.
I,
Yeah, great, yeah. Yeah, we should have just voted on the titles. All right, so I have a couple more things. I would like to offer a resolution, from the floor. That the Caroline Town Board has completed the annual audit of the town supervisor, the town clerk, and the town justice court. I'll fill in the date later, on whatever date that was, and that
can I make an amendment?
yes,
The town justice court with the participation of clerk, but without the attendance of the justices.
I'm sorry, say it again. I got.
so
I got-
Tim just added a note that
Say it again.
we completed the annual audit of the
Right.
court with the court clerk,
Yes.
without the attendance of the justices. I believe that was the word.
Oh, I see. That's your reference.
Yep.
Yes,
That's fine, okay.
Yeah.
Great,
that would be good.
and the audit of those offices found them to be in financial order,
Yes.
so.
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Any further discussion or comment? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Great, thanks. And opposed? Nay, none. So we did do that one. And do you have comments on the minutes of January 15th and 23rd? Are those minutes ready for approval?
Have any comments?
You okay?
They're fine.
Great. So the minutes of January 15th and 23rd are hereby approved. For the now February 20th business meeting, we will start with the public hearing. Public hearing on the tax exemption local law. We will have a resolution on speed limit study. For Thomas. Anything else?
Bills.
Bills? Absolutely. That's one reason I wanted to push it back a day, because I just wasn't gonna have time to audit. Okay. If you think of things, send them along my way. Great, okay. Anything else for tonight? That it's 9:17. I will offer a resolution to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
yo.
All right, opposed? We got it done.
Good night, Velvet.
Night, Velvet.
Yes.
Did you use your car?
I,
Do you have to go get your car unstuck now?
Hang on.
no, I'm gonna do it in the ice. I'm gonna do it in the ice in the morning. That's gonna be fun.
Oh, that's a good idea. Go get a tractor.
Mark, if the weather's bad, this one's working at home.
The weather's supposed to be bad.